Jacob Reynolds wiped the sweat from his brow as he tightened the last bolt on the old elevator. He had worked this building's maintenance job for nearly 5 years, fixing everything from squeaky doors to flickering lights, but today felt different. The phone call he had received just an hour ago wasn't the first about the elevator's stubborn behavior, but it had been urgent. "It's stuck again," the building manager had said. Jacob knew it was likely nothing more than a jammed gear or a fuse that needed replacing. Still, as he opened the elevator doors and climbed into the cramped metal box, a strange sense of anticipation prickled at him. Inside, the small elevator smelled faintly of oil and dust. Jacob knelt and inspected the mechanisms, his hands working instinctively. He loved working with his hands. There was a quiet satisfaction in repairing what was broken. But today, he couldn't shake a feeling that this job was somehow more than just maintenance. He hummed softly to himself, a habit from long days when his 8-year-old daughter, Lily, wasn't around to interrupt. He had been raising Lily alone since her mother's passing 3 years ago. Life hadn't been easy. Every paycheck, every hour spent fixing things that didn't belong to him was ultimately for her. Still, he rarely let himself complain. Being a single father had taught him resilience, patience, and a certain kind of humility. Jacob loved simple truths: a job well done, a warm meal, and Lily's laughter echoing through their modest apartment. As he pried open a panel to check the wiring, a soft voice startled him. "Excuse me?" Jacob looked up, and there she was, a woman in her early 30s, impeccably dressed in a tailored navy blazer. Clutching a designer handbag, her hair was neatly tied back, and her eyes, wide with surprise and mild panic, were fixed on him. I think I'm stuck," she said, her voice calm but edged with uncertainty. Jacob smiled reassuringly, though his mind raced. "Don't worry, ma'am. I'll have this sorted in a few minutes." The woman nodded, shifting nervously. "I'm Emily Carson. I was on my way to a meeting. Very important." Jacob chuckled lightly. "Well, I'll do my best to get you out before anyone notices." He glanced at the wiring again. It wasn't a complicated problem, just a misaligned cable. But the tension in the elevator made every second feel longer. While he worked, Emily watched quietly. "You must fix these elevators all the time?" she asked, her curiosity breaking the silence. "Most days," Jacob replied, his voice steady despite the nervous hum of machinery around them. "It's honest work. Keeps me busy, and it's the kind of job you can be proud of." Emily's lips curved slightly in a smile, though it was tempered by the anxiety of being trapped. "I've always admired people who can fix things with their hands," she said softly. "I can barely manage a toaster without setting off a fire alarm." Jacob laughed, a sound warm and genuine. "Don't sell yourself short. Everyone has their talents." As he tightened the final screw, the elevator shuddered and then hummed back to life. Lights flickered, and the motor whirred, releasing them from the metal cage. The door slid open smoothly, and Emily stepped out first, brushing imaginary dust from her blazer. "Thank you," she said, her voice carrying a mix of relief and curiosity. "I don't think I've ever met someone who could make being stuck in an elevator almost pleasant. Just doing my job. I fix things so people can keep moving forward. That's all." Emily's eyes softened as she studied him. Most people would have panicked or complained. You just worked. Calm, practical, admirable. Jacob felt a blush rise to his cheeks. "Well, someone's got to do it." She hesitated for a moment, then reached into her bag and pulled out a business card. "Emily Carson. You might not recognize my name, but let's say I run a few companies. I would like to thank you properly, Jacob. Coffee, lunch, whenever you're free." Jacob blinked. He wasn't sure if she was joking or serious. He worked long hours, and lunch with a billionaire wasn't exactly on his weekly plan. Still, something in her calm, appreciative gaze nudged him forward. "Sure," he said cautiously. "I can make time." Over the next hour, they sat at a small cafe nearby. Emily didn't talk about wealth or power. Instead, she listened as Jacob shared stories about Lily, the challenges of raising her alone, and the small victories that kept him going. There was a humility to him that struck her, a quiet strength in his everyday courage. Emily, in turn, shared bits of her own life, her family's empire, the pressures of running multiple businesses, but she didn't brag. Instead, she spoke about responsibility and the loneliness that came with success. Jacob was surprised to find how normal she seemed, despite her status. Here was someone the world would call a billionaire. Yet, she listened like an old friend. She asked about his daughter, about his dreams, about the small ways he found joy. And for the first time in years, Jacob felt no need to impress anyone. He just spoke the truth, and she valued it. Days turned into weeks, and their friendship deepened. Emily occasionally called him for advice, not about elevators, but about life. Jacob realized she valued sincerity over pretense, and Emily discovered that wealth didn't equate to wisdom, nor did it shield her from the small, meaningful struggles that everyone faced. One afternoon, as Jacob walked Lily to school, his phone buzzed. Emily was calling. "Jacob," she said, her tone unusually serious, "I have a proposal. I know this may seem sudden, but I want to invest in your future and Lily's." Jacob frowned, wary. "I appreciate that, Emily, but I'm fine. We manage." "No, Jacob, I insist. You've spent your life fixing things for others. Now it's time someone fixed things for you." He paused, staring at the familiar streets of his neighborhood, the small apartment building, the playground where Lily laughed and played. It was tempting, yes, but more than that, he felt seen. For the first time, he realized someone recognized the value of his life, not for glamour or spectacle, but for character. Emily's voice softened. "Jacob, I don't just want to help. I want you to have opportunities you've always deserved. Lily deserves that too." Jacob's throat tightened. He never thought wealth would ever enter his world, let alone from a stranger who now felt like a friend. Yet Emily's sincerity, her respect for his integrity, made it easier to accept. "You know what?" he said finally, a small smile forming. "Let's do it. Not for me, but for her." Emily chuckled. "That's the spirit. I knew you'd understand. Some things can't be bought. You earn them. And you've earned this." Months later, the small apartment underwent renovations, and Lily's eyes lit up at a backyard she had never known she could have. Jacob continued his maintenance job, but now with more security, more freedom, and a renewed sense of purpose. He knew the value of hard work, but he also understood the importance of trust and generosity. One evening, as they watched the sunset from the new balcony, Lily hugged him tightly. "Daddy, you're my hero." Jacob smiled, brushing her hair back. "No, kiddo. Heroes come in all forms. Sometimes it's someone believing in you when no one else does." And as Emily watched from afar, satisfied with the small difference she had made in someone else's life, she knew that real wealth wasn't measured in numbers. It was measured in courage, kindness, and the quiet heroism that often went unnoticed, just like Jacob's. In the end, it wasn't about the elevator or the billionaire. It was about the connection, the honesty, and the power of a simple act that changed the trajectory of two lives. Jacob had fixed a broken machine, but Emily had helped rebuild hope, proving that even the smallest deeds can carry the weight of greatness.